Hey everybody, my name's Greg, and today we're going to talk about taking those first steps to finally learning a language. Again, if you're like me, in the past you've tried other methods, you've tried other things to try to learn a language as an adult, it hasn't worked. I want to go through some of the simple things that I did that started this process for me to learn Italian and got me to where I am now, to where I can have a full conversation with people. And I want to share that with you guys right now. So let's go ahead and jump into that. One of the first things that I would suggest is, I talked about this in another video before, is consistency. Consistency really is the key in really attaining the goals that you have for learning your target language. This is going to be something that if you can commit just a few, maybe 30 minutes every single day, it's going to help you out so much more than if you decide to sit down for one day for 3 hours with your head in the book and then take a week off. So if you can dedicate that time, if it's 30 minutes, if it's an hour, that's great. Anything more would be even better. But if you can just set aside 30 minutes, whether waking up early or just staying up late, and just put that time in every day, that is going to make huge results for you. So the first step I would suggest, and I know this kind of sounds old in a digital world, but if you can print off a calendar, this is something that just having a physical copy of something that you can set down next to your workstation or hang up somewhere, that you can mark down all the days that you complete. And again, this sounds old, but it's just, there's something about writing something down and crossing something out and saying like, okay, I completed this day. That's just going to be a reminder for you every day. And for me, it works. I like writing things down anyway. So if that's something that can be useful for you, I would suggest it. Another thing before we get into all the steps is journaling. It's so important to write down your goals and then write down your progress, things that you talk about. I have kept a journal throughout this entire process of learning Italian for almost, it's coming up on 4 years now. And every 6 weeks I decided to journal and write a little bit about my progress and where I was at. And this has helped so much, just so I can look back and see the struggles that I've had, but also see the progress that I've made. So I would definitely recommend journaling. Don't do it every single day because you're probably not going to see results every single day, but do it. Choose every few weeks, maybe every month, the first of the month, something like that's going to help you see your results. So, all right, let's dive right into some of the methods that I used. Personally, I have gone through every language learning app, language learning program there is out there. I've done Rosetta Stone, Pimsleur, Link, Rocket Language, Italian Pod 101, Fluent in 30 Days, Fluenz, Busuu, Wino. I know now it doesn't even sound like I'm saying words anymore, but Babbel. I've tried apps like Live Mocha, Duolingo. I have literally tried everything out there. But I want to talk about what method actually worked for me. And it's not one singular method, but these are the steps that I took that got me to where I am now in the Italian language. Trying to speak the English language now. So anyway, I want to challenge you by saying that, like, make it a 30-day challenge. If you can put it in your mind and again, print that calendar out and say, hey, I'm going to work on this target language at least 6 days a week. If you want a day off, take a day off, enjoy that day, but make it a 30-day challenge to where you're going to work on that language 6 days a week for 30 days. You know, they say that after 14 days of doing something, it starts to become a routine in your brain and you start creating that routine. So if you can dedicate that time and then do that, again, do that for 2 weeks, 14 days, do it another 2 weeks, that's going to become part of your everyday life then. You're just going to know that, okay, I'm going to sit down and do my language learning. So again, I would suggest printing off that calendar, mark down those days that you completed it, do a 30-day challenge. All right, the first thing I would suggest if you're sitting down and you are brand new to a language, you've never done anything, let's say you want to learn Portuguese, and you've never you've never learned Portuguese in your life. Maybe you're going to Portugal or Brazil or somewhere. The first thing I would do is do something for free. Do something that you're not going to spend a whole lot of money on. That way you can kind of test it out to make sure, okay, this is something I can do. And there's enough free material out there that you could certainly work for 30 days and figure out, okay, this is something I want to do. This is the language that I want to jump into. So if you want to look up YouTube videos, I would suggest typing in your target language and then type with. And then there's going to be suggested people that are teaching you that language. So for, let's say, Portuguese with, and you're going to come up with 10 different people who are teaching Portuguese through their YouTube channel. Click on the subtitles of your own language, whether it's English or whatever language you speak. Watch and read those subtitles. And if you're going to do a lesson for 30 minutes, I would say sit down, listen to 3 minutes at a time. And again, I talked about in another video, repetition is a key. Repetition is super important when you're learning a language. So listen to 3 minutes, go back, listen to that same 3 minutes with the subtitles of your own native language, and do that 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times, 9, 10 times, however long it takes, to where you're starting to at least not understand, but you're hearing the language and you're reading it in your own language, and you're starting to follow along a little bit better. That would be the first step, day one, trying to get a little bit better understanding of those of what that new target language is going to be. The next thing I would suggest, again, out of all the language programs that I just talked about recently, there are some of them that I purchased and some of them that I just took the free trial. They all have free trials, whether it's 7 days, some of them are 30 day free trial. Use that free trial to get as much out of the language that you want. It serves two purposes. One, you get to learn whether you are really committed to doing this language or not, but it also gives you an opportunity to test out that platform, test out that program, and see if, this one works for me, this one doesn't work for me. So I think that listening is going to be the most important part of it from the very beginning. Just listening to the language, letting your brain absorb what's going on while you're reading the subtitles in your own language. Just understanding what's going on in that language. That's going to be the most important part. The next step, when you start to be able to read the language, it's also important. It's also going to help you when you start to try to pronounce and speak the language. So another step that I would suggest is using a translator app. And one of the ones that I like the most it's called DeepL Translator. The most important thing with these translator apps is the fact that you can write out short little phrases that you may know that you'll use in your target language. For instance, we would like to sit here, or can you show me a menu, or some of these little phrases that, if you know that you're going to another country and you're going to speak this language and you're going to say these certain phrases, this is not learning a language by memorizing, but at least, if nothing else, you could plug it into the translator app and see what it says each time, read the translation, hear the translation, and it's going to give you at least a start on how to absorb that and how to learn that language. So that would be on the aspect of at least being able to see the language and read it. As far as speaking, again, there's a lot of people that'll say start speaking from day one. Other people say, wait a little bit. I think if you're comfortable speaking day one, start speaking day one. Go for it. But for most people, it's going to take them several months, 3 to 6 to 9, or even a year, 9 months to a year before they actually want to start speaking. With that said, I will say, please start speaking earlier to yourself. It may be embarrassing to try to speak to somebody else, but try to speak to yourself. At least allow yourself to speak that language, to be able to hear the pronunciation in comparison to what a native speaker sounds like, to try to mimic that or shadow that sound, and make sure that you're at least trying to hear or trying to make that same similar sound. It will be important later too. If you spend a year studying and never speaking, and then you try to start speaking at that point, it's going to sound bad. You're going to feel embarrassed. You're going to say, oh, well, I never want to speak the language. So start speaking early, especially to yourself. And this may be embarrassing too, but record yourself. Put yourself on camera and listen to it. I have some early footage of me speaking Italian or trying to speak Italian, and it is so embarrassing because I'm messing up words. I'm saying all the wrong things. My pronunciation isn't very good. And it's funny, it's embarrassing, but who cares? It's just for me. And maybe I'll put it out on a YouTube video to show how embarrassing it is. But for me, I really just recorded that because I wanted to see where I would be. So record yourself speaking. Again, start out small. Start out with small phrases, a few words here and there. At least get your brain thinking about speaking in that target language. So that's really important. And again, journaling. I think that's super important to talk about the ups and downs, the struggles, the things that you don't understand. It's so funny. I look back now at the journaling that I did in Italian and the questions that I had then, like, oh, I don't understand why this word is used here, why these words are switched, and just through the process, not even looking up why, but just through the process of listening to comprehensible input, I started to understand. And now I look back at these questions and I'm like, oh, I can't believe I had all these questions. But it's something that's interesting because that's going to show your progress. That's really going to help you understand and know how much progress you've actually made. With that said, again, print out that copy, print out that calendar, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications, and we'll see you next time.